Gay, woke, liberal, pot-smoking, race-mixing, tree-hugging, left-handed, science-affirming, Jewish, humanist, atheist, a white evangelical Christian nationalist, worst night. And we're the show that leaves no gender behind. Okay. Hey, Eric. Oh, all right. The echo was gone. Thank you very much. We're having some great fun today here in the KCA virtual studio. Hey, here in the KCA virtual studio with me tonight is Sam Clowder, and Paul Stanford was here, but he has disappeared. So I don't know if he's going to be coming back, but they were having an interesting chat before the show about Ecuador, and Sam's going to be talking a little later on pretty soon about, kind of an elaboration of what he was on the other week when we were talking about what should we do if you want to leave the country because you just can't take it here anymore. You're too worried about what's going on here. So Sam's going to be talking a little bit about that. But right now, I want to talk about something kind of special. It's going to be the 25th anniversary this month of the Marijuana Anti-Prohibition Project. That is the organization I started way back in December 1999 here in the Coachella Valley. We had our first meeting in the beautiful town of Desert Hot Springs, which some people refer to as the armpit of the Coachella Valley. And we met there for 3 months before we started moving. We moved to the Cathedral City Library. We met there for 7 years. Anyway, we were the premier and, for the most part, the only marijuana law reform organization and medical marijuana patient group in the entire Coachella Valley. And most of the things that went on in the Coachella Valley regarding marijuana went through us. And we accomplished quite a few things. And I'm so proud. One of the most proud things I have is that back in 2008, we went before the Palm Springs City Council and asked them to allow medical marijuana dispensaries to operate under California Senate Bill 420. And surprise, 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 they agreed. They said, let's do it. You know, when I give presentations to groups and I talk about the history of cannabis here in the Coachella Valley, I always say, why was Palm Springs the only city in the entire Inland Empire, that's San Bernardino County and Riverside County, why was Palm Springs the only city for almost 15 years to allow medical marijuana dispensaries to operate legally? And most people don't have the slightest idea, but I tell them, well, here's the reason why. Because the Palm Springs City Council is majority at that time, and even and today now it's total, is LGBT. And where you have LGBT people, you have marijuana. But more importantly than that is that the council members all knew people in the community who had AIDS, and they knew that cannabis was one of the most beneficial things available to make AIDS patients' lives more livable. And they wanted them to have safe, convenient local access. And so they approved at that time 3 medical marijuana dispensaries, collectives, to open up. And it stayed that way for 15 years. One of the other things I'm very proud of, we kept lobbying other cities and stuff, but boy, it was very difficult because we were always being opposed by the sheriff's office and this kind of stuff. But one of our biggest breakthroughs came through was back in 2015 when a measure was being introduced at the Riverside County Board of Supervisors meeting to ban all cultivation of marijuana, medical marijuana patients. Nobody could go. And the reason behind this was at that time we one of our supervisors, Jeffries, was saying, hey, there is all these large marijuana grows in my district, hundreds and hundreds of plants. The sheriff's office didn't know where these grows, but he said they certainly were. And so he drafted, and it was going to pass to just ban all growing. Well, so at the council supervisors meeting that was going to be held about this, I brought about 30 patients, and they all got up and testified for 3 minutes. So for about an hour and a half, the Riverside County Board of Supervisors was absolutely harangued by all these patients saying, hey, we have the right to grow some medicine. Don't take this right away from us. And lo and behold, the Board of Supervisors said, okay, we'll put this off. We're going to decide it. We'll talk about it. And I got called in there, and we had a discussion. They want to know how many plants does a medical marijuana patient need to grow enough cannabis for themselves. And I said, I don't know, I'll find out. And so we held a public meeting, and over 60 people showed up to this meeting. And I says, okay, the Board of Supervisors wants to know how many plants you need to be able to grow a sufficient quantities to provide your medical needs for cannabis. And the figure they came up with was 24. And I said, and the limit that then back then was under Senate Bill 420 was 6, and here they were asking for 24. And I said, well, okay. I went there. I figured they were going to laugh me out of the room when I went and I met with the two supervisors and their staff. And I said, the patients want 24. But much to my surprise, they didn't laugh at me or anything. They said, well, we'll consider it and we'll get back to you the following week. Well, the following week, I got a call from them and I went into the offices, and what they came up with was 12 plants per patient, 2 patients per household, for a total of 24 plants. And the kicker was that you can grow outdoors as well as indoors. And of course, anybody who knows, if you can grow 24 plants outdoors, you're going to grow a lot of cannabis. You'll have no problem growing enough for all your medical needs, and several of your friends too as well. I am with 24 plants. And Riverside County, which had been like a hellhole for marijuana cultivation and marijuana regulation, suddenly became one of the best counties in the entire state of California for cultivation by medical marijuana patients. So, and to this day, and what's so interesting is Supervisor Jeffries, after it went into effect for about 3 or 4 or 5 months, he actually published it. He put out a press release praising the new ordinance, saying how well it's worked in helping to reduce the illegal grows and allow patients to have sufficient quantities of cannabis for medicinal purposes. And it's still the law in Riverside County. And so if you're not living in Riverside County and you want to be able to grow 24 plants, get your medical recommendation and move to Riverside County, and you can grow up to 24 plants if there's 2 of you in your household. If only one, you only grow 12. But 2 people in the household, you can grow 24 plants. And, it's interesting. So I just mentioned, get your medical recommendation. It's kind of interesting. It used to be, I used to be associated with a clinic that Paul Stanford ran, the THCF Medical Clinic here in Riverside County, city of Riverside, that provided medical marijuana recommendations. There used to be doctor offices all over the place, but there isn't anymore. I got a Facebook post from somebody wanting to know, is there any doctors you can actually go to get a medical marijuana recommendation now? And I don't know of a single doctor that actually operates an office providing medical marijuana recommendations anywhere in the state of California. There very well may be some, but I don't know of them. If anybody knows of one, let me know. But you can get them online. They're very easy to get online. They're very reasonably priced online, and they're legitimate. And if you don't think the doctor that is writing you your recommendation is legitimate, just go to the medical board and you can type in the doctor's name and it'll come up whether they're legitimately licensed or not in the state of California. So, that's one of the reasons people say, they say, why get medical marijuana recommendation? Well, part of the reasons there's no more doctors is because there's not much of a reason to get a medical marijuana recommendation for. The way it used to be, of course, California had legalized cannabis if you got a doctor's recommendation to use it. So that's how people were able to get legal cannabis by getting a doctor. Well, you don't have to do anything. Proposition 64 came along, and you don't need to get a doctor's recommendation anymore to be able to grow it. But there is advantages to it. And here in Riverside County, the big advantages is you can grow your own and you can grow a lot of marijuana, because Proposition 64 only allows you to grow 6 plants. And they can restrict it to just indoor. And if you only can grow indoor, you're not going to be able to grow as much of a quantity as if you can grow it outdoors. So, but Riverside County recognized the importance of it, and it's worked very, very well in Riverside County. It's been this way for now almost 10 years. And so move to Riverside County, right? Move to Riverside County. So what I was talking about in the beginning of the show is that MAP started in December of 1999, and here we are, December of 2024. It is our 25th anniversary. We haven't been doing quite as much as we used to ever since Proposition 64 passed, because now people are in the business for it to make money. If they want things better, They should be hiring lobbyists to go to Sacramento and their city councils and county boards and lobbying them to make things better. So we don't work quite as much. But what we mainly work now is trying to get the price down. We're trying to keep the prices too ridiculously high. The taxes are too high. We'll talk about maybe that a little later tonight. But we're going to be having our 25th anniversary party, and we've got it all set. We're going to be having it in Palm Springs, and it's going to be, let me do something here real quick on my phone. Okay, it's going to be on December 21st. That's the winter solstice. So we're going to have a 25th anniversary party for MAP and a winter solstice celebration on December 21st. And it's going to be at the 420 Bank in downtown Palm Springs. Now, I'll be sending out more information about it because I just got the place reserved today. We're going to have, it's going to be, 420 Banks is very big dispensary and lounge, and they got a huge place with pool tables and lounges and all this kind of stuff. But we have a private room upstairs. It'll be all to ourselves, where we can celebrate MAP's 25th anniversary and also the winter solstice, and we can do it with cannabis. Isn't that wonderful? We can actually smoke it legally and this kind of stuff. Now, you got to remember, folks, this is a dispensary. They make their money selling cannabis. So don't bring your own, purchase a little bit from them. When you wouldn't go into a bar bringing in your own bottle of Jack Daniels, and you shouldn't go into a dispensary lounge bringing in your own Jack Hare or whatever strain you're smoking. So, so come there and give them a few bucks. They're giving us room for free. Julie has known me for years and years and years, and she should have another operation in another place. And she's got this most beautiful place. If you've never seen the 420 Bank, it'll be worth it to come to our 25th anniversary party just to see it. All right. So if you'd like more information, there's two ways you can get information from me. One of the best ways is to subscribe to my newsletter from the marijuananews.org. So just go to the website marijuananews.org, and the masthead, you'll see the thing that says newsletter. Click on that, and you can sign up for my newsletter. I promise you, you won't get flooded with articles. I only send out a newsletter maybe once or twice a month, but I will be sending one out pretty soon about this, about the 25th anniversary party. Another way is I have a special private little email list, which I send out little things I do, not just about cannabis or anything else. If you like some other thing, just send me an email to Lanny RN, that's LANNYRN at AOL.com. Real simple, Lanny RN at AOL.com. Say, hey, I want to be on your private email newsletter list, and I'll put you on that, and you'll get some other things besides what I send out to everybody else. So put it on your calendar. Saturday, November 21st is going to start at 7 p.m. at the 420 Bank in downtown Palm Springs. Write me, and I will get you more information for that. We hope you will be able to come and join us. It's going to be a lot of fun. 25 years, that's, if 25 years ago, somebody would have told me back then in 1999 that we would now be having legal dispensaries on Main Street in California, and the price of cannabis has come down wholesale to about $1,000 a pound. It used to be $2,000 to $3,000 a pound, and that people were no longer being arrested for it, and people were being taken out of prison, and the records being expunged, and all this kind of stuff. I would have wondered, what in the world were they drinking? But no, that's what's really happened. So things have really gotten better. Does that mean things can't get better? Oh yeah, they can get a lot better. We got to get marijuana way cheaper. It's still way overpriced. It's just a plant, for goodness sakes. I said it's $1,000 a pound wholesale. What in the world plant do you pay anywhere $1,000 for a plant that's pretty much in its natural state? Of course, so we got to get down. And part of the problem why it is so expensive because the taxes are so high and the regulations are so absurd. When sometimes I go to city councils or county boards and they're considering ordinances to allow cannabis to be under Proposition 64 to be businesses to open up and stuff. I always go to them and say, hey, listen, I want to congratulate you for actually allowing cannabis businesses to operate here in your communities and provide cannabis to your residents and your citizens. But I looked at your ordinance. I looked at your ordinance there, and you know what? I think it would be easier to open up a nuclear power plant than to operate a dispensary in your community. You've got to make things easy. So we got to get these regulations down. We've got to get the taxes down. The taxes are absurd, just absurd. And there's not, a glass of wine costs about 20 cents for is the taxes in it, and one joint is like $1. So it's like 5 times what you pay for wine tax. It's ridiculous. Okay, so once again, 25th anniversary. You want more? Send me an email to lannyrn@aol.com or go to marijuananews.org, and in the masthead, click on newsletter and subscribe to my newsletter. Okay, well, listen, we're going to have Sam's going to be talking a little bit about leaving the country. Leaving the country. Some people probably wouldn't be sad to see Sam leave the country, but I will, because I really like Sam. I've known him for years, and he has been a source of inspiration to me and knowledge that's been so important in my work that I've been done. But if you have some questions of Sam, or if you have anything you want to talk about, anything, something you want to, got some questions about something, you want some kind of anecdote about your life or something you want to talk about, we'd love to hear from you. So here's a phone number you can call into, 909-383-1000. 909-383-1000 or 909-383-9000, 9000. So give us a call. We would really love to hear you for whatever reason you want. I would really like to hear from you. Okay, so we're going to turn to Sam right now. And Sam, tell us a little bit about the plans and anything people should be considering if they're really thinking seriously of leaving the country because of what's happening to the country right now.
There's plenty of great information in YouTube videos, because right after the election, there were the interest spiked. And at that point, right after the election, polls showed that 58% of Americans were considering leaving the U.S. 58% of U.S. citizens were considering leaving the United States. I think it's ridiculous that we call this country America, because America is it's North America, Central America, and South America. This isn't just America. And so there's a flood of people leaving. I'm going because the party has deserted me. The Democratic Party has deserted its ideals. The Democratic Party has one thing really in common with the Republican Party, and that is that its only goal is to be elected. And there are no ethics, there are no mores, there's no real substance involved. It used to be that the major difference between the Democrats and the Republicans were that the Democrats placed people on a higher priority than money, and the Republicans placed money on a higher priority than people. That's really not the way it is anymore. The United States is not a nation. The best quote I've heard in the past 2 months is that the United States is not a nation, it's not a country. The United States is a business. And I don't have any loyalty to money. I want to go live in a culture which prizes people higher than money. And there's plenty of them throughout the world. And again, there's plenty of information about it online. There's all kinds of countries that U.S. citizens can go to without a visa and hang out for 6 months or more and easily get a resident visa once they're there. There's all kinds of countries that have the same quality of life for a lot less cost, which don't have the political strife that the United States has. They're far more peaceful, far more calm, and far more respectful of each other. The United States has been headed this way ever since the Goldwater-Johnson election in 1964. And it's just going to get worse. I mean, I think that the first salvo in the upcoming Civil War, which I foresee is happening and breaking out completely by next summer, was the threat of bombs and the death threats and bomb threats that were given to 8 people that Trump announced he was going to nominate for his treasury, for his cabinet. And I think the second salvo that portends a civil war happened just recently, when that young hero shot the executive in the back. And we are finding out more and more about that all the time. What that executive and that health organization was up to was no good. Of course, what health organization in the United States is up to any good. I mean, I've been a member of Kaiser for 40 years, and I'm an asshole with them. Back in the 90s, the state sued Kaiser for denying care. Kaiser used to give Christmas bonuses to the doctors that denied the most care. This past year, Kaiser made $3.5 billion in profit. And they won't pay their workers a decent wage. Their workers, the nurses and all the medical personnel had to go on strike to get anything out of Kaiser. This is the United States as it is now. It's not what I grew up in. I'm 73 years old. You know, up until the 1980s, the most common saying among businesses is the customer is always right. I haven't heard that for 40 years. I haven't heard it said and meant for 40 years. And here we have two whole generations that do nothing but look at their phones. They don't even talk to each other. They get all their information there. We have an educational system that has failed by not teaching history and not teaching ethics. You know, if you don't know history, you can't learn from history, and you're doomed to repeat the same mistakes. Only in this case, we're repeating them over and over again. I mean, I didn't think any president would make Richard Nixon look good. George W. Bush did that. And I didn't think George W. Bush would make no one could make George W. Bush look good. Well, Trump #1 made Bush look good. And I didn't think anyone would make Trump #1 look good. But you've got Trump #2 now. And Trump #2 is going to make Trump #1 look like a cakewalk. I no longer have any loyalty or respect for this country. I learned personally about a decade ago, there is no liberty and justice for all. Liberty and justice are commodities for sale. You get what you can pay for. You can get by with murder if you can pay for it. But you can go to prison for marijuana if you can't afford an attorney.
Trump did say that he could shoot somebody on Fifth Avenue and nothing would happen to him. So you're absolutely right there.
He's going to be doing it. He's just not going to be pulling the trigger. I think, you know, if you look back at the tremendous trouble that college students caused over the Israeli war against Hamas and the Palestinian situation, that was under Biden. Mm-hmm. Trump's going to be worse. I can foresee campuses exploding in April and May in a way that will make the 60s look like a party. It's not a pretty picture. And the Democrats don't have any solution.
So you feel that the only solution is to pack up and go?
There are other solutions, but not at this point in time, because the two-party system has done what George Washington warned us against. It has divided this country in such a manner that nothing short of a tremendous financial failure, collapse, and social failure, collapse, is going to create a situation where everybody just throws their hands up and says, okay, we've all had enough. We got to work together. I don't know. What's it going to take?
Yeah. Well,
you know, I mean, look, Carter did his best, and he was vilified for it. Clinton did his best, and he was vilified for it. Well, Obama did, and he was vilified for it. You know, even George Bush the first tried to do that. But everyone wants to fight. So, you know, and I've done that for 50 years. I started in politics actually longer than that. I started getting into politics involved in 1960 as a child. And I've paid my dues. Those of you who know what I've done, you know, I was a key person in the decriminalization of cannabis in California, the legalization of hemp, the amending the three strikes law, relegating the California Republican Party to second party status. I've done my part. It's everybody, you know, and I got to say this, Lanny, once and for all, and I don't mean any personal disrespect or offense, but if your life evolves around one political issue, then you're just as selfish and self-centered as Donald Trump is, because his life only revolves around money. So what I'm saying is, if your life just revolves around legalizing drugs or legalizing abortion, if that's the only issue you care about, you're part of the problem. You're not part of the solution. I say, politics is meant to serve all the people. Well, at least the majority. That's what a democracy is supposed to be. And that's across the board. There are all kinds of issues that affect at least the majority. And people have got to come to a level where they give up their arrogance and their obnoxiousness and adopt some humility and start to create instead of destroy. You see, ever since Lyndon Johnson Goldwater, we have been voting for the lesser of two evils.
That's been the history of this country.
So that both evils are evil, and we have to choose between which one. Biden gave us away because of his own damn ego. Biden told us that he was a single-term president, and then because of his ego, he wanted to run again.
Well,
and that's why we have Trump, because he didn't give us an opportunity to have a real choice among Democratic options.
Well, when you're the most powerful person in the world, you don't want to give it up. It's, as Henry Kissinger says, it's the greatest aphrodisiac.
Possibly.
You're not sure? Okay. But yeah, the question is, would a third party help out if we had a more of a parliamentary system than we had this two-party system? You think so?
Yeah. Of course. I mean, I myself was never a Democrat because I wanted to be a Democrat. I was a Democrat because they're the strongest anti-fascist, anti-conservative, anti-Republican organization that existed. My personal political agenda corresponds more to the Green Party. But you think the Democrats eat their own? Try to do something with these Green Party people. It's just they don't cooperate. Everybody wants to compete. Everyone wants their own way. And that's not what politics is for.
No,
politics
it's not.
Go above the individual ego and serve the greatest number of people that can be served at any time. But yes, Lanny, and it's feasible that a third party may come out of this because there are so many classy, responsible Republicans who've left that party because of Trump. And they still have too many differences with the Democrats to be able to join the party. So if a third party comes out of this, that could be a very good result. That might make the whole thing work out. But I personally think there should be more than 33 parties. I did my master's degree in political communications at Cal State Fullerton with a thesis that the media is the problem. The media only covers racehorse, meaning the two leading candidates. The media doesn't cover all the other parties and all the other issues. So in that way, the media, everybody's following. Nobody's leading. Everybody's following the money.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody's leading the people. So since the media only covers the Democrats and Republicans, no third party has ever really been able to develop and stay together. But there's plenty of options out there. I mean, the Libertarian Party, the Reform Party. I helped in the 90s, I helped 3 parties qualify for the ballot by collecting registered voters for it. The Reform Party, the Natural Law Party, and the Green Party. I helped all 3 qualify for the ballot. But none of them can get enough voters to keep voting to maintain the status as a third party.
Well,
whoever came to being elected was Audie Block as an assemblywoman out of Oakland when she was a Green Party member.
Yeah. Well, part of the problem is one of the reasons I got so involved. I mean, I've always been a Democrat, but it's only recently in the last 10 years or so that I've gotten involved with the party. And that's because if you're going to get changes made, you're going to have to get involved with a party that actually has the ability to make those changes. And so I said, well, the Democratic Party is the one most likely to change cannabis laws, most likely to change laws affecting LGBTQ people, the one most likely to make laws taking care of the environment and conservation and this kind of stuff. And that's why I got involved. And I'm actually pretty deeply involved with the party now, serving as on the Riverside County Democratic Party e-board and Cal Dems e-board and this kind of stuff. But that, once again, if I really thought there was if the Green Party really had a lot of people in it, maybe I would have gone that way. I was with the Green Party for about 6 months, but kind of like you, after 6 months or so, I got very disillusioned by the Green Party.
I should correct myself and make it clear that when I say the Democrats, I'm really not talking about the California Democratic Party. I'm talking about the National Democratic Party. The California Democratic Party is pretty well organized and produces some pretty good people. I like Adam Schiff. I like Loretta Sanchez. There's so many people that come to mind that I just don't want to run off names. But the California Democratic Party is very open enough that anyone who really wants to bring about change can do it. I'm just too radical anymore. I don't believe in saying the Pledge of Allegiance. I think that we should be pledging loyalty to the Constitution. We should teach our children, and we should say when the flag comes out the same thing that our elected say when they have to pledge to uphold the Constitution, not pledge the flag, because there is no liberty and justice for all. That's a lie that we tell each other. And I'm not singing the Star Spangled Banner anymore because the third verse praises the lynching of African American slaves. There's just no way to get around that. We only sing the first verse, but we're not teaching the truth to our children. And this is just, I went to South America this past summer and saw a whole new world. I saw where people really cared for each other compared to the US. I saw where they don't have the heavy materialistic ethics and goals that the United States has. In other words, there's much less greed there. However, and this brings up what I wanted to talk about, Lanny, and that is the deep state that the Trumpists claim exists that they're going to get rid of. I know there's a deep state. And my concept of a deep state is that the CIA and the NSA don't answer to anybody for what they do or where their money comes from or where they spend it. The DEA has an office in every embassy and every consulate. They have a satellite office. The DEA at this moment is probably the most corrupt three-letter organization out of the United States. And they've caused a war on drugs, which has got every country in this world in one form or another of civil war, because all the drugs are bought by the U.S. citizens and all the guns come from the U.S. citizens, and the U.S. government wants to ignore that and wage war on every other country. That's a deep state. That's a deep state. A deep state is that Ronald Reagan held the Iran hostages up so he could beat Jimmy Carter, and then he lied to us about it and told us that he didn't negotiate for hostages when he sent 31 plane loads of guns there. That's the deep state. The deep state is the conspiracies behind the assassinations of both Kennedys and King and Malcolm X. That's all the government. The deep state is the FBI. Is that the deep state they're going to go to? Are they going to still talk about Hillary Clinton having a cabal at a pizza parlor in Washington that was participating in pedophilia? Nothing could be further from the truth. It's a smokescreen. It's bullshit. There is a deep state. And if they're seriously sincere about it and they go after it, what the deep state is that the United States government has been withholding the truth about UFOs from us for about 70 years. What is the truth? Why isn't it released? Why aren't even presidents told about it? There is a deep state that's been conspiring. It comes from the Cold War after World War II, when the CIA was formed, and then the NSA, and they were going to do anything and everything they could to fight communism, and they could get by with it as long as it was fighting communism. Well, communism, that's been gone. since 1989, and the Berlin Wall came down. I mean, yeah, sure, you know, you've got Putin, who's a remnant of it, and what's going on in the Ukraine. But if we are going to, if we need to clean our own backyard. We need to clean our own soul of all the hypocrisies that this nation has done and expose the true deep state. Clean it out once and for all. That's a great goal. We'll have to see just exactly whether that's the kind of deep state that Trump wants, or Trump's just going to use power to go after his the people who disagree with him. That's why I'm not going to be here. I mean, you know, I'm a bleeding heart liberal Democrat, but I've slept with a loaded handgun on my bedside table for many, many years. And I must say, I know all kinds of bleeding heart liberals who have their handguns and their rifles fully loaded. And this is why I don't want to be here. I'm going to get rid of my gun. I'm going to move to another country where I don't need it, to feel safe and secure, someplace where I can feel respected, someplace where I can feel loved as a human being.
Now
doesn't exist here.
You had talked about several South American countries like Ecuador, but they have all kinds of problems there because of the drug war. And would you actually feel safer there?
Yeah, because their government's not coming after me. Now, you see, you know this, Lenny. I mean, I personally, individually, I have disrupted 5 different demonstrations in Orange County for Donald Trump. The last one was the California Republican Party convention. And when I do this, quite often I do it alone. And at that time, there were more than 2,000 people taking photos of me, taking videos of me on their phones. And I have received quite a few death threats. Fortunately, they don't know that what I'm about to expose is that I have, every time Jimmy Kimmel has an individual that's on that looks like Trump from the head up, that's me from the neck down on Jimmy Kimmel Live. I've been appearing like that for the last 3 years.
That's absolutely right. I've seen the videos on YouTube and so on. Sam makes an excellent below the neck
down.
below the neck Trump. Yeah, you have to see it. Yes.
But and I have no doubt that they'll find that out. And I think that if I'm here, I don't, you know. Plus, I just have so much vested in opposing Trump that I don't think I could hold myself back from being involved if a civil war breaks out like I expect it to in the summer. I just don't want to be around it anymore. I've done my part.
Well, it will be interesting to see how people react, because everybody's going to be expecting prices to go down, and they're not going to. And then people start finding their Social Security cut and their Medicare cut. Also, Trump can pay for the tax breaks he wants to give to continue to give the billionaires. I think people are going to kind of be thinking twice why they ever voted for the guy. But we'll wait and see what happens. You know,
and
maybe he can't get prices down. I don't know.
His minions, Mr. Musk, everybody who drives a Tesla, that T doesn't stand for Tesla, it stands for Trump. Burn it. Musk wants to cut 40% of the jobs in the federal government. The United States government is the largest corporation in the world. So at one and the same time, they're going to cut 40% of the federal jobs. They're going to deport 10 million immigrants, and they're going to reduce taxes. Now, what does that mean? To me, that means it's complete and total financial collapse. You think that there's a gap between the rich and poor now?
Oh, it's going to get worse, way worse.
Yeah.
And it's never been as bad. It hasn't been like this. Even in the Gilded Age, it wasn't this bad.
Yeah, but you know, one thing that we have in common with them, Lanny, is this: we have not liked the status quo for a long damn time. We fought for cannabis. We fought for all kinds of things that are against the status quo. That's why I thought that Trump people were going to say they're going to vote for Trump, and they're going to vote for Harris secretly. It was totally the opposite. All kinds of people said they were going to vote for Harris and then voted for Trump. Why? because they're so fed up with the status quo. And this makes this makes the United States politics completely insolvent. The fact that every election is a further swing to the other side. They go right, they go left, they go right, they go left, and each time it's further away. You know, if it works, then maybe in 4 years they'll elect Gavin Newsom. But right now, you know, it's like, what do you have to place it? See, everybody wants to destroy the status quo, but what are you going to put in its place? There's no plan. And the actual threats that Trump is making are worse threats than we've heard in the history of the United States.
Well, they are trying to destroy the status quo, but what they're trying to replace it with is even worse than what we have now. And it's going to be what I refer to as a theocratic, authoritarian oligarchy. That's what we're going to be having in this country, a theocratic, authoritarian oligarchy. We can see it right now. You know, with the Christian nationalism, they're doing a damn good job of taking over controls of, you know, right here in California, which shouldn't be facing this problem. A number of school boards have been taken over by them. They've taken over Congress. And the oligarchs, of course, are the ones who are ruling the country. Look, Trump is look at his cabinet. He had 4 billionaires in his cabinet, and the two people he's tapped to redo the government are you know, the richest man in the world and somebody who's pretty close to that. It's absolute insanity. And we'll have to see what happens. I mean, if it works, if they really do lower prices and the government doesn't shut down and all this kind of stuff, well, maybe, but I don't think that's what's going to happen. I think he's going to bring the country down. We're going to go into a big recession. People are going to be paying more for everything, and the only people who are going to be getting richer, of course, are the rich people to begin with. And then maybe at that time people will rebel against it. But I'm not holding my breath, because there's a lot of classism and racism that infects this country to the very core. And back when the labor movement was getting early, there used to be the whites and the blacks were cooperating, and one of the things that they did, especially in the South, was they split them. They said they got the whites. Oh, I don't want to be. They made the lives of blacks so bad that they separated them out, and it's been very hard to get them to work together again. And I think there's a lot, I think there's a lot of racism in here, white supremacy, which is in the
sexism too. I mean,
oh yeah,
especially white men, but men in general voted against Harris because she's a woman, and also because they made the LGBTQ issues such a high priority and kept hammering them in public over and over again.
Well, they mainly hammered about transsexuals, and there's this big fear about transsexual men playing on women's teams and transsexual men going into women's restrooms. You know, if you know, this is so absurd. If they were as interested in people's ability to have a good education and have good health care as they are in somebody's genitals, maybe we'd be getting someplace in this country. But everything is upside down.
Yeah, it's crazy, because I mean, the problem here is most United States citizens have no idea what other cultures are. Even Native Americans were more acceptance of gays. There were transsexuals in Native American tribes. There have been transsexuals in Hindu cultures and in Asian cultures for hundreds of years, and there's no problem.
Thousands of years.
Yeah, well, okay, thousands of years. There are transsexuals in Latin cultures. There's transsexuals in African cultures. Oh, but the United States is going to be the Puritan of all. So what are they going to do? They're going to kill them? They're going to keep them out of school? They're going to. It doesn't make any sense. I don't know enough about the rest of the world to know if there's a more hypocritical nation than the United States. Having lived here, I know that there is so much hypocrisy in the United States, nothing amounting to truth is left. It's all a lie.
Well, I mean, I can't disagree with you. Things are not looking good right now. We'll have to see what happens. But once again, you know, there's those of us who oppose it. We have to keep working to do it. And I really think in 2026, we could turn things on. Remember in 2004, when Bush won the election, he also had control of Congress, pretty much a conservative Supreme Court. Not as bad now as Supreme Court as it is now, but still he had control of everything. 2 years later, everything flipped, and I think we can do the same thing in 2026. And I'm going to be I'm going to be working on that through the party, and I'm encouraging everybody else to get involved in working on it. We can change it.
You and I are so old. We need younger generations to come in with more knowledge, more courage, more inspiration than we have. I don't see that happening.
Well, in the Riverside County Democratic Party where I'm at, there's a lot of young people that have gotten involved lately. It's really been very refreshing to see it. It used to feel like I was at a meeting of senior citizens, not anymore. But the party's got to make a more of a reach out to them and convince them to go in there. And the thing about this thing with all the bros that came out and voted for Trump. I think a lot of it just had to do with reaction to the Me Too movement and all this kind of stuff, and male domination and alpha male and all this kind of stuff. We got to reach out to these people, and I think we can.
It's sexism and racism. You had a female who was African American and Asian. So all three strikes against you right there.
Yeah.
Obama was at least a male.
Yeah.
No, America's got the United States has a long way to go to be as humanistic as so many other countries throughout the world.
Well,
this is lost on people who never left the United States.
I have been seeing, and you were talking about moving to other countries. I've been seeing all these other charts about ranking the United States in terms of livability and health care and education and all this kind of stuff. We're not even the list anymore. We're so far down that if you get better education in other countries, you get better health care in other countries, you get better quality of life in other countries. And
out of more than 200 nations in this world, at least 1/3 of them are safer to live in than the United States.
Yeah,
they have better economies. They have a much higher literacy rate, free education, free health care for everybody.
And the thing is, the disparity between the rich and the poor is nothing like the United States. It's nothing like in the United States.
No, that's the only reason people come here anymore, is to get rich.
Well, with that, we're probably going to have to start winding things up, Sam. Why don't you give a what do you think are the top 10 countries that people should consider moving to?
What I've been looking at, there are several in Asia and several in Latin America. Thailand, Singapore, Malaysia, Costa Rica, Ecuador, Peru, Argentina, Uruguay. While the United States has been getting worse and worse, these countries have been getting better and better, even Mexico. I don't know of any country in Africa that would be considerable. I won't do Europe because Europe has had too many wars. And if a real war breaks out, it's either going to be in Europe or the missiles are going to be going over their heads. So I really don't believe that any other continents other than Asia and Latin America are a whole bunch of countries that are better.
Sam, we have a caller who is calling in right now. He only has a few minutes left, so I want to bring him in, okay? Caller, welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Better late than never.
Lanny, is this you?
Yeah, this is Lanny.
Lanny, this is Detlef, and I have a couple friends that moved 10 years ago to Cochita, Ecuador, and they seem to be very, very happy. And then my friend Mary, who is my friend Ginger's sister, just moved 5 years ago to Ecuador, and they seem to be pretty happy there.
Really? There you go, Sam.
Yeah.
You're getting some support for moving to Ecuador.
Yeah, and here we were just talking to Paul Stanford earlier. He's telling me about this cannabis cup in Ecuador.
Right. So, why did they move to Ecuador? Why did they move at all? Why did they leave the country?
Ginger just wasn't happy with what her and her husband weren't happy what was, was going on. They both lived in Portland, and she had a business where she took care of plants and offices and stuff. Very creative lady, and I think also because they can live comfortably on their Social Security where you really can't here,
Yeah.
And if I had the ability, I would, but because of being a long-term HIV patient and getting help with my medicine, I don't think that would work in Ecuador. But I sure wish it could, because I'm very worried about what's happening in this country.
Well, you and so many others are very worried, and
yeah.
it's interesting. I'm glad you called to let us know that your friends moved to Ecuador and they're very comfortable with their lives there and they're enjoying it. So moving out is, that's not necessarily a bad choice to make.
Yes, yes, I think so. They seem to be pretty happy, and but I think some of us have to just stay here, and kind of fight it out.
Leaving. You're stuck with me, Detlef. I'm not leaving. Anyway, hey, listen, we've only
got... that's so good, Lanny. That's just so good. I got to tell you, I enjoy listening to your show when I catch it. It's really good, and I've told Kirsten about it, too. So hopefully, I listened a couple weeks ago, and it was all these people that were from the City nightclub, and I thought, well, gosh, there's no one representing Mildred's Palace or Metropolis.
Well, Mildred's Palace.
And I tried to call, but I couldn't get through. So this is the first time I've been able to get through. So it's just fascinating.
Well, I'm so glad you took the time. Listen,
and I really enjoyed listening to your the gentleman this evening. So knowledgeable.
Yes, please call in again, Detlef, and get somebody else from the old gang to call in. I love to hear from them. People write me every now and then, and it's always wonderful to hear from them. I've got to come back. I'm looking forward to.
Thank you, Lanny. Good evening.
Good night. Bye-bye. Okay, listen, we've only got about a minute left. I want to thank all of you. I want to thank Sam for calling in. He'll still be around next week. He's not going to move out that quickly, but we'll always keep getting reports from Sam, especially if he goes ahead. Listen, next week's going to be a very interesting show because I'm going to reveal Trump's 8 mistresses. That's right. Trump has had 8 mistresses, and I'm going to reveal all of them on next week's show. So you're not going to want to miss that, right? And we're also going to be talking about some tax policy on cannabis. Taxes are going up in California next year. We've got to put an end to that. So,
hey, Lanny, are one of those eight a transsexual?
No, Trump's I was about to say Trump's a transsexual, but no, that would be a horrible thing. That would be a horrible thing because transsexuals are good, Trump is not. Anyway, join us next week. Hey, if you want to learn more about the 25th anniversary party, send me an email to rnlanny@aol.com or anything else you want to know, rnlanny@aol.com. Please join us next week here on Lanny Sense, the station that leaves no lister behind, and we are the show that leaves no gender behind. Good night.